Jihad has come to America.
Constitute the most devastating series of terrorist attacks in history.
The only deen Allah accepts is Al-Islam. And whoever seeks any other deen apart from Islam will never be accepted.
Allahu Akbar! And we stand together to win the war against terrorism.
But you too will make your destruction.
Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening, September 14th. You're watching Jihad Exposed. I'm Summer Goriel, your host for this evening. This country's freedom of religion and freedom of speech are its most respected rights and seems to be what makes America an inspiration to the rest of the world. However, it is these same freedoms that are especially attractive to Islamic terrorists. International terrorist organizations reside here in America. They often take advantage of religious or charitable organizations, and this seems to be more than enough to fool the public, the police, and especially leaders of educational institutions who are willing to encourage and sponsor groups in the name of diversity. Meanwhile, U.S.-based terrorists have been able to use these organizations to transport equipment to Middle Eastern terror groups to coordinate efforts with other terror networks around the world and to ultimately plan and support terrorist acts in the U.S. Now, how can America stop someone from preaching violence if it punishes actions and not words? How can America stop groups from gathering to share their views, even if one of those views is that the U.S. must be destroyed? It's reported that the total number of terrorists in the U.S. is only a portion of the total number of Islamic extremists, which itself is but a tiny portion of the total number of American Muslims. So how at risk are we, really? After September 11th, everyone in America is aware of the power and persistence of these radical groups. Is it certain that those terrorists will continue to pursue their destructive agenda? Whether they succeed may depend in part upon whether we as Americans can recognize how they operate. Our topic tonight is Al-Qaeda in America, where we'll take a look at how Al-Qaeda operatives are not only living among us, but are using the freedoms given by the U.S. to gain access to information, to raise money, and to begin the infiltration process of the Islamization of the U.S. With us this evening, we have Kamal Salim and Walid Shubat, both two former PLO terrorists, and we have special guest this evening, Muslim apologist Farhan Qureshi. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So we have three significant foreign groups on American soil. We have Hamas, we have Al-Qaeda, and we have Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Today we will focus on Al-Qaeda. And so, Walid, why don't you take us through a little background to help us understand a little about Osama bin Laden, as well as the establishment of Al-Qaeda, not only in the States, but around the world as well.
Well, Al-Qaeda uses several elements to take advantage of the United States of America and this country of infiltration, raising funds, as well as using converts to Islam, which can basically disseminate in the culture, which they cannot be identified since they don't look Middle Eastern and things of that sort. You had Jose Padilla, who was a Brooklyn-born Hispanic Catholic who converted to Islam, and he was scouting the possibility of building a radiological device, which is what we think is a dirty bomb, which is pretty destructive if ever succeeded in the U.S. You have also converts in university campuses using the Muslim student unions. We have one terrorist named Hassan Akbar who threw a grenade in Camp Pennsylvania in Kuwait and killed fellow American compatriot soldiers as well. And of course you have American trained Al-Qaeda who no longer live in the U.S., like Adnan Shukri Jum'ah, Omar Hamami, and Anwar Awlaki, who is being searched by U.S. drones for assassination. Of course, Anwar Awlaki denounced terrorism and called for interfaith dialogue. on NPR, NBC, and so far he has not been this moderate that people thought about. So there's the problem of so-called moderates who are not moderates also being in this country, infiltrating in this country, and raising funds and recruitment in this country. So, one main issue that we need to focus on also is that Al-Qaeda, the inception of Al-Qaeda, had an American connection. You have Ali Muhammad, who was a CIA collaborator and also was a double agent for Al-Qaeda, who brought Ayman Zawahiri in this country in Northern California. And in fact, he wrote the first manual for Al-Qaeda. So you have this part that is American trained in the military as well. Of course, you have Nidal Malik Hassan, who killed 13 Americans at Fort Hood. So we have several arrays of problems of Al-Qaeda in America, with its inception also being influenced also in this country.
Thank you, Waleed. Kamal, I'd like to ask you, can you tell us a little, not just about the establishment of Al-Qaeda, but also maybe a little more on Waleed, what he was saying about the rise of Al-Qaeda in the West today, especially over the past 20 years, but also today?
Well, I speak from experience. Waleed did not work with these people specifically per se, but he knew about them, and he worked with many people that knew of these people. But nevertheless, we worked with these organizations and came to the United States of America specifically, at one time to be embedded in this culture for specification. So I did not come as, just to be another Arab in America. I came to be here infiltrator of this culture in the name of peace and name of love, just the equality and what so have you. But nevertheless, Waleed is right on the money when he talked about, all the infiltration that has taken place and the recruitment that has taken place, not just in the United States of America, but worldwide, specifically in the European world, like the shoe bomber, for example. He is one of those recruited, from England, and he was coming to the United States of America to do just like with what the underwear bomber did. And now we have John the Taliban, who was recruited from UC Irvine specifically, and he fought in Tora Bora against the American, as the American was trying to help the Afghanis against the Soviet invasion. And on the other hand, we look at many other facets, like even the prison system in the United States of America. This, according to statistics by the FBI.gov, there are about 2,000 prisoners been recruited from the United States of America, and today they are actively between Yemen, between Sudan, and Egypt, training all over and active in places, ready to do something, for the move of Al-Qaeda from different places with the American citizen holding the American passports. So this is, it's not, it did not happen overnight. This has been happening for years, while America didn't know what Al-Qaeda was all about. Al-Qaeda historically started even when Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, came about, when he moved from Mecca and went to Medina. This is the first Al-Qaeda establishment. And what he did over there, he did the same thing like the 9/11. He used At-Ta'if. And At-Ta'if was with the city, that it was a fortress and nobody could enter it. So he used the Manjaniq, which is the retractors, like cannons. And he did the same thing, killing women, children, and what so have you, the same thing. So, but it was allowed as long as it was a fatwa, Islamic fatwa, so it was overridden and allowed, and it was permitted by Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. So therefore, when Muhammad went to Medina, was first Al-Qaeda ever. It was Al-Medina, which is referred to like a fortress. So therefore, this is what we're dealing with, is something even from beginning of Islam.
Thank you, Kamal. I wanted to ask a question to Farhan.
I lost you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Kamal. I wanted to ask a question now to Farhan. As a Muslim American, do you agree that Islamic terrorists have used the U.S. as a base to commit such crimes, not only in the U.S. like 9/11, but also abroad in Europe and the Middle East and so forth? Farhan, are you with us? Oh, we must have lost Farhan. We'll get him on the phone in a couple minutes. I guess I can address that question to Waleed, actually. Waleed, you know, I'm sure that you're going to agree with this, but why do you think that Al-Qaeda, number one, has a base in the United States, and number two, is attracted to the West to begin with? Why don't they just stay in Afghanistan or wherever their location is? And why are they attracted to the West as they are?
By and large, feels that the U.S. is the superpower in the world. And after the fall of communist Russia, Russia was very much involved in the Middle East. When Russia fell during the war in Afghanistan, you had a problem that, I'm sorry, you had a problem in that is the basis of power shifted from Russia to the U.S. And so in order to defeat the UN, in order to regain the Islamic dominance, the U.S. itself had to be dismantled. So they believe Islam has to rise as a superpower, as a major superpower. In order for this to happen, the U.S. has to be brought down.
Farhan, were you able to hear Waleed's comment?
A little bit. I was kind of disconnected.
Okay. Well, actually, let me go to my previous question, and then I'll come back to Waleed. I just wanted to ask you, as a Muslim American, do you believe or do you agree with us that Islamic terrorists have used, in fact, the U.S. as a base for chaos committed against other nations and even against U.S. Americans' targets abroad?
I mean, I think that terrorist organizations have used money to engage in terrorist activities throughout the world. That would make sense completely. There were some other comments that kind of worried me as an American Muslim that were made. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to address them, though.
Well, my second question then to you is, why do you think that they are in fact attracted to the West? I asked the same question to Waleed, and Waleed said that unless Islam dominates them, they're going to continue coming after us, which is the West. Why do you think that they're attracted to the West and they're not staying in the Middle East?
Well, I think that they're upset about their situations in the Middle East as well. They don't want to be ruled by the dictators and monarchs within the Middle East, and they want to get rid of them. But why come to the West? I mean, there's opportunities in the West that are available to them. It would make sense that they would go where the opportunities are. But they're definitely not...
The opportunity, you mean to spread Islam to the West?
No, not to spread Islam, more so to acquire an income that they could send back.
Okay, Kamal, do you agree with that?
He was cutting off in many different ways. You know, he was coming in and out. For some reason, the sound system is not coming across.
Okay.
But on the contrary of what my friend is saying over there, it's not true. And let's examine it by Islamic leaders in the United States of America. Let's look at Imam Faisal. Imam Faisal want to open the Ground Zero Mosque specifically to make peace, where the Islamists did what they did by his standard, by his word. So what my brother is saying, he's contradicting the Khalifa of the United States of America, which is he is representing the Islamic world in Cordoba Initiative, for example. So he need to take it with Hassan Abdul Rauf on this level.
But...
Right. Farhan, actually, as we're on this topic, because this is actually a hot issue, this mosque, there was a rally last weekend on 9/11. Do you think, I mean, what are your thoughts on this mosque? Is that a way, you know, Christians or even any non-Muslim in general are saying that this mosque is a way for Islamization to come to America? Not just, I mean, the main thing is because of the location of the mosque, but the rise of the number of mosques that are being built in the U.S. is a sign that the U.S. is becoming more Islam-oriented. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I think what it demonstrates is how great this intolerant this country really is. And not only does it demonstrate